ever look down at your stomach and thought, why does it still look so big even though I'm trying to eat healthy? Because I know how uncomfortable, frustrated, and even embarrassing that can feel. Especially when it makes you look pregnant when you're not. That was my struggle too. I was eating healthy, but my stomach still was not looking or feeling the way I wanted. And it was only when I started understanding my digestion a little better that I realized bloating was a big part of why my stomach was not flattening. So in this video, I want to share what I started focusing on that helped me reduce the bloating, support my digestion, and get to the flat stomach that I have now. You see, a lot of women have gotten so used to feeling bloated that they barely even question it anymore. They eat, their stomach feels tight, heavy, swollen, or uncomfortable, and they think, whoa, I look 4 months pregnant. But instead of getting curious about it, they brush it off and just keep going. And that's the part I really want to challenge. Because bloating is often your body way of telling you that something is off. It may be how you eat, what you are eating, how fast you eat, how stressed you are, or how well your body digests certain foods. But either way, your body is giving you feedback. But I think a lot of women over 40 have learned to settle for discomfort. We normalize being tired, normalize being brain fogged, bloated, even being overweight. And after a while, we stop being curious about what our body is trying to say. But there must come a point where you say, no, I'm not going to keep brushing this off like if it is nothing. Instead, I'm going to start paying closer attention to how my body feels after I eat. Not just whether the food looks healthy on paper, but how it actually affects me. So after a meal, I want to challenge you to do this. Ask yourself, do you feel satisfied, comfortable, or energized? Or do you feel bloated, sleepy, gassy, or uncomfortable? That's the kind of awareness I want you to start building. Because when you start noticing patterns, you stop guessing. You begin to see what foods, habits, or eating patterns may be helping your body or what may be working against it. Because you see awareness, that's where you can begin to change. You cannot improve what you are not paying attention to. But when you start noticing how food affects your energy, digestion, and how you feel, you give yourself clues about what your body may need more of or less of, or what you need to do differently. So one thing I started paying more attention to was bitter foods. Things like arugula, ginger, bitter melon, and other bitter tasting foods can actually help get your digestion ready for a meal. Research suggests that bitter taste can send signals that help your body prepare to digest food by influencing your digestive hormones and other digestive responses. So I started seeing bitter foods not as something that I should avoid because they don't really taste that good, but something to support my digestion. And you see, after 40, that matters. Not because your body suddenly stopped working after 40, but because digestion can start to feel a little less forgiving as you get older. A lot of women notice they feel heavier after meals, more bloated, more uncomfortable than they used to. And part of that can be changes in how your digestive system moves food along and handle meals with age. So small things that can support digestion can actually make a difference. Another thing I changed was slowing down when I eat. And I know that sounds almost too simple, right? Like, how can eating slower really make that much of a difference? But it did for me. I used to eat while I was working, and oftentimes I find myself rushing through the meal, barely chewing, and then wondering why I felt bloated afterwards. What I had to learn is that digestion starts in the mouth. And when you slow down and chew your food better, you actually give your body a better chance to break it down before it even reaches your stomach. Eating too fast can also cause you to swallow more air, which can contribute to bloating and gas. So I made a simple rule for myself. Stop treating your meals like a task to rush through. So I set a time limit of 20 minutes. So I try not to finish my meals in under that time. And to be honest, I have not completely given up multitasking while eating. I still eat and work sometimes. But I try to be more present. I try to chew more slowly, take my time, give my body a little more time to process what I'm eating. And I don't do it at every meal. Sometimes I forget, but I'm definitely doing it more often than before. And honestly, this is one of those habits that don't cost you anything. but it can make a difference in how you feel after you eat. Another thing I started paying attention to was hydration. Because when you are not drinking enough water, your digestion can feel it. Water helps keep things moving and keep stool softer and easier to pass through your body. But if you are constipated, bloated, or just feeling backed up, hydration is one of those simple things you do not want to overlook. So instead of waiting until I feel thirsty, I try to sip water throughout the day. I also pay attention to my urine color. If it's pale yellow, I know that's a good sign. But if it starts to get darker, that's a cue for me that I need to drink more water. And also try to remember that your fuel needs will depend on things like your size, activity level, the weather, and your body's condition. But for most people, just starting with plain water is great. But if you are sweating a lot, exercising, losing fuel because you are sick, then you might want to consider using electrolytes in your water. But for everyday digestion support, drinking water consistently is a big step. And then there is the nutrient side of things. Because your body does not just need food, it needs the raw material to do its job well. So if your diet is filled with highly processed food, you're not varying what you eat, your digestion has been off for a while, that can make it harder for your body to get what it needs. And some medication can also affect your nutrient absorption. So a few nutrients I think are worth paying attention to are magnesium, zinc, and B vitamins. Magnesium matters because it keeps things moving smoothly through your digestive system. Zinc supports your immune function and helps many enzymes in your body do their job. The B vitamins, especially B1, B6, and B12, they help to turn your food into energy. So you can get these vitamins from leafy greens, beans, nuts, seafood, eggs, and quality meat. So for me, I try as much as possible to get my nutrients from my food first before even thinking about supplements. So I ask myself, am I actually giving my body what it needs regularly? More leafy greens, more beans, more nuts and seeds, whole foods, more variation, and quality meat. Because sometimes the issue is not just your age, sometimes your body needs more support than you are actually giving it. Another thing I had to pay attention to was stress. Because a lot of people don't realize that your brain and your digestive system are constantly talking to each other. There is a real connection there. And that's one reason why stress can show up in your stomach very quickly. So when you're anxious, overwhelmed, under pressure, or constantly rushing, your body can actually shift into something called fight or flight state. And when that happens, your digestion is not a priority. Your body is more focused on getting you through the stress than on breaking down foods well. This is one reason stress can show up as nausea, stomach pain, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, or just feeling off in your gut. And I think that is important to note because we often focus so much on the food and not necessarily the state that we are in when we are eating. So you can eat a healthy meal, but if you're eating while tense, distracted, upset, or rushing, your body may not respond to that meal the same way as if you were calm and present. So it's worth slowing down and actually paying attention to the state that you're in when you eat. Tools like deep breathing, prayer, or meditation can help calm your stress response and may also help improve digestive symptoms. And the last thing I want to talk about is eating late at night. Now I try to start eating by 7. At night, your body is actually preparing for rest and not digestion. So those late meals can leave you feeling heavier, more uncomfortable, and more prone to reflux when you lie down. And this is one reason why many experts recommend giving your body some time between your last meal and bedtime, rather than eating and then going straight to bed. And I know this can be hard, especially if you had a long, stressful day and you didn't get to eat on time. But if you want to see results, there are times when you have to work with your body, not against it. So I encourage you to stay consistent with this habit, not just doing it a few days or a couple of weeks, but over the next few months. Because change often comes from what you do consistently and not occasionally. And for me, one of the biggest signs that things were actually improving was my bowel movements. I noticed a difference in how regular I was going, the size and shape of my stool, and how much better my digestion felt overall. And as that improved, I also noticed that my stomach looked flatter. So I don't want you to underestimate what can happen when you give your body the support it needs and stay consistent long enough for that support to work. Now you have less than 90 days before summer, but this is still enough time to step into a stronger, more energized version of you. So if you're a purpose-driven woman over 40 who is tired of feeling tired and ready for your summer shift, I want you to click the link below to join our upcoming challenge. See you inside.